So remember, again, the difference between a physical and chemical property. We're just going to be observing these differences. And so a physical property is something that you can observe yourself without actually changing the identity of the substance in question. Now, if in order to observe that property, the substance has to change its identity, then it's going to be chemical. So in the first example here, we're dealing with boiling point. Now, if we're talking about any type of state change, so going from a solid to a liquid, liquid to a solid, or from a liquid to a gas, gas to a liquid, which boiling point, by the way, is liquid to a gas, then we're dealing with a physical change because, for example, in this problem, when ethyl alcohol goes from a liquid to a gas, when it's in the gas form, it is still ethyl alcohol, even though the molecules themselves are moving faster, they're still ethyl alcohol. And so as a result, this is going to be a physical property. The next one, the temperature at which dry ice sublimes. Subliming, guys, is just going from a solid to a gas. Again, state changes are physical. The flammability of ethyl alcohol, so whether ethyl alcohol can burst into flames. Fire is what we call a combustion reaction. We're going to study that this year. And flammability, and combustion is a chemical reaction. So in order to observe flammability, we have to be changing the identity of ethyl alcohol. So therefore, it's going to be chemical. Smell, we had this discussion. Smell is going to be physical. We're going to assume that anything with our senses is going to be physical. If you think physiologically a little bit too deeply, then you might think it's chemical, but for our purposes, any kind of odor is going to be physical. The tendency of silver to tarnish. Tarnishing, guys, is when oxygen reacts with silver and causes it to turn, it makes the silver less shiny. So the fact that it's reacting with oxygen tells us that it's a chemical reaction. So it's just whenever something reacts, if you're saying, so I could have even said the tendency of iron to rust. Okay? So the fact that iron rusts, the fact that iron turns into Fe2O3, which is a brand new compound, that is a chemical property. Tarnishing, I don't know what's actually formed, what the chemical symbol for that would be, but it's changing the silver into something. Once it's tarnished, you can't get the original silver back. And then finally, if we're talking about any kind of coloring, it's going to be physical because we can observe that without actually changing the identity of the substance. So remember, chemical is when in order to see the property, we have to change the identity of the substance. Physical is we can see it without actually changing the identity of the substance. Specifically, the most commonly misunderstood one is going from a solid to a gas, gas to a solid, gas to a liquid, any kind of phase change, because you still have the same substance, it's just in a different form. And that's it.